Hi, Ashley here with hearthookhome.com, and today we are making one of these super cute, super chic, super quick corner bookmarks. So you put the pages that you are currently on inside of the triangle and store them this way. This is such a fun and cute way to show your love of crochet. So that you can add an optional pico edging to the bottom here, just as a little embellishment, and you could add a crab stitch edge around the outside when you're finished. Let's learn how to do one of these corner bookmarks together. For this pattern, I am using animation yarn. There are a ton of different colors available. This is a DK weight mercerized cotton. This has 69 yards and it's plenty big enough to make even the largest of our corner bookmarks. To make them, I am also using my 3mm crochet hook. I have a stitch marker that I will use to mark the centermost stitch. I have my yarn needle and my scissors. Let's get started. We are going to start our corner bookmark with a magic circle. I do have a dedicated tutorial for this if you would like to follow along with that. Get situated, and we are going to do a chain 2 and a treble crochet, so wrap it twice in the circle, in that magic circle. That's a treble crochet. Now we're going to do 7 double crochets in the circle with that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now we're going to do 1 more treble crochet in the circle. Wrap it twice and complete that stitch. Beautiful. Now you can go ahead and pull the magic circle tight, and we will tighten that up even further just a little bit later. But for now, that looks beautiful. This is row 1. Let's go ahead and mark the centermost stitch. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I do find it helpful, or it can be helpful. So I'm going to find the centermost stitch, which is this one right here. There are 9 stitches in this row, so I have 4 on either side of the marker. Now I'm ready for row 2. In order to start row 2, I'm going to do a chain 2 and turn. I'm going to do a treble in that first stitch there. So wrap it twice, go into that first stitch with a treble crochet. Beautiful. Now we're going to do crossed double crochets to get to the stitch marker. In order to do that, I'm going to place a regular double crochet in the next stitch here. And now to make the crossed aspect and to keep the increase, I'm going to place a double crochet in the first stitch that right there. So come back over the top of this double crochet. Let me move my yarn. Come back over the top of the double crochet that we just made and go into that first stitch here and complete that double crochet. So you've got your treble, and then a double, and then you came back into the first for that crossed double crochet. Now we've got 2 stitches until we get to the stitch marker, so I'm going to skip the next one and do a double crochet in the next. And now I'm going to crochet around that one into the skipped stitch. So double crochet, go into that skipped there, and finish that double crochet stitch. Beautiful. Now we're going to remove our stitch marker. This is the centermost stitch. So what we're going to do on this row is a double chain, double in the same, chain, and then 1 more double in the same, and that's going to be your centermost stitch on this row, or on the even numbered rows. So now again, I'm going to take my stitch marker and mark that centermost stitch right there so that I can find it easily next time. Now I'm going to skip the next stitch and do a double crochet in this one, right here. Oops. And now I'm going to go around that stitch into the skipped stitch here. Skip that next stitch and do a double in the next, which is the last stitch of this row. Now we're going to do a double in the skipped right here. And we're going to do a treble in the last. So wrap it twice and go into that final stitch again. Treble, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. So now we've got this nice little triangle forming, right? Isn't that pretty? Now we're going to chain 2, and this is row 3, turn, wrap your hook twice for a treble crochet, do a treble in that first stitch, and a double crochet in the same. Now we're going to double crochet in each stitch until we get to the stitch marker. While you're doing this, you need to remember that we have those chains in the centermost stitch from the previous row. Make it with me here. Making our double crochets all the way across. Here is a stitch here. And remember that last time we made a couple of chains in there, right? So right now for this one, that's actually the chain space is the next stitch. So I'm just going to double crochet into that chain space instead of having to work my hook into that chain. I'm just going to go into that chain space. And now that I've reached the centermost stitch, I'm going to place 5 double crochets in that stitch there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now I'm going to replace that stitch marker, get my yarn out of the way, in that centermost stitch right there. Place that stitch marker so that we can find it next time. And remember, the next stitch here is technically that chain. So you're going to go into that chain space right here. So if you find yourself at the end of row 3 not having enough stitches, it could most likely be that chain space that was just skipped. It's very easily to skip it, or easily skipped. So I'm double crocheting all the way until I get to the last stitch. When I get to this final stitch here, I'm going to do a double and a treble. So double and treble. Now I'm going to do those 2 rows again. So we've got this nice little triangle forming. To start row 4, I'm going to do a chain 2 and turn. I'm going to do a treble in that first. Now I'm going to do my crossed double crochets until I get to the stitch marker. For the first one, I'm going to go into this very next stitch here, and this is the same row you're going to repeat over and over and over again until your bookmark gets as large as you want it to be. So I've done that first double crochet. Now I'm going to do my second double crochet for the crossed into that first stitch. So double crochet right here, going around that stitch. Just like that. And now I'm going to do my crossed double crochets all the way to the stitch marker. So skip that one, go into the next, double. Now we're going to double into that skipped stitch there. Repeat that all the way to the stitch marker. Now when we get to that stitch marker, we're going to do our double, chain, double, chain, double, all in that same stitch. And now we will replace our stitch marker. We'll skip the next stitch and do a double in the next. And we'll continue that crossed double crochet all the way to the end of the row. When you get to the end of the row here, we're going to do a treble in this last stitch here. Same as that last crossed. Beautiful. Now we have one more row to do for the smallest size, which is the size that we're doing on the video here together. So I'm going to chain 2 and turn. We're going to do our treble and a double in the first. We're going to double all the way to the center. Make sure we get those chain spaces, right? Those 2 on either side. 5 double crochet in the centermost stitch and then double crochet all the way to the other side. Now that I've made it to the end, I'm doing my 1 double crochet and my treble crochet in that same stitch. And that is the end of row 5. If you would like to grow your bookmark to be larger, simply continue those 2 rows, alternate the crossed double with the straight double, or repeat them back and forth until you get it as big as you want it to be. When you get it as large as you want, if you want to add the picot edge to the bottom, let's do that together. We are going to crochet across the edge no matter if you do the picots or not. It just cleans it up just a little bit. So I'm going to do a chain 1 and we're just going to work across these row ends. So I'm going to do a single crochet and I'm just going to evenly space these. So I've done that one. I'm going to do a picot in this stitch. So I'm going to chain 3 and slip stitch to the base of that where that single crochet was. We're slip stitching together. Perfect. Now I'm going to do a single crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. Not stitches, I guess. Just making it evenly placed across those row ends. I'm going to chain 3 for another picot and slip stitch to the same as that single crochet. I'm going to do 3 more single crochets. If you're not doing the picots, just single crochet evenly across all of these row ends. There's 3. So let me do 1, 2, 3. Slip. One. 2, 3. Let's do a picot. Now you're going to go ahead and make sure that your magic tail or your magic circle tail is pulled nice and tight. And now we're going to crochet around it so that we don't have to weave in that end. So I'm going to go into the very center, that tight circle. Maybe I should have done that before I pulled it tight. Make that single crochet. Beautiful. So that's 1. I'll do 2, and now I'm going to crochet around the magic circle tail so that I don't have to weave it in. So here's 3. Let me do another picot. One, 2. Oops, I'm supposed to be crocheting around it. And 3. And picot. 1, 2, 3, picot. I'll drop this yarn back here. I'll do 1 more single, and I'm going to slip stitch to the top of that first actual stitch from that final row we made. So now that I have finished my first triangle, I need to fasten off and make a second triangle. So I'm going to do that off camera. You can go ahead and clip this yarn. Since we crocheted around this, you can go ahead and clip this to get it out of the way. I'm going to make my second triangle and we will do the construction together. So here is triangle number 1. And here is triangle number 2. So we are ready to do our construction for our bookmark. Notice that I did not weave in the end on this first triangle, and on the second triangle I am still connected to my yarn ball. So I'm going to line these 2 triangles up to where the wrong sides are touching. So you want both of the pretty sides to be the outside. So we're going to put the wrong sides together, and we are going to single crochet through both thicknesses to the corner. We're going to place 3 single crochets in that corner stitch, and we're going to single all the way to the other side. We're almost done. So I've done my chain. I'm going to go into this first side here and this second side here and do a single crochet. Now I'm going to go into the next. And theoretically, these should all line up beautifully since they are identical triangles. When you get to that centermost stitch, we'll do 3 in that just so that it lays nicely around that corner. And then just continue on all the way to the other end. I'm going to crochet until we don't have any more stitches to work into. Now we are ready to fasten off and weave in all of our ends. So I'm going to clip my yarn. I'm going to pull this straight on through, just like that. I'll go ahead and weave these in well. I always like to weave in my ends at the very end of a project, usually all of them all at once, if I don't crochet around them like we did that magic circle beginning tail. I'm just going to weave this up through the center of those stitches there. Clip that. All right, let's clip that. And there we have it, a beautiful corner bookmark that is absolutely beautiful. Holds your place for you. Put it anywhere in the book that you like. On this one here, I did make it a little bit larger on the inside. Let me just take this one off completely. On the inside, I made this triangle a little bit larger than the outside, and then I just crocheted through both thicknesses where applicable. So this is a beautiful pattern. I hope you love it. It would also be beautiful to use a very thin crochet thread and incorporate beadwork into those crossed double crochets. Wouldn't that be beautiful? I hope you love this pattern. I look forward to crocheting with you soon. Thanks for watching.